Every human being wants a better future, a better career, better relationships, greater confidence, and a deeper sense of peace. Yet most people wake up every day, repeat the same routines, make the same choices, and silently hope that somehow life will improve on its own. It rarely does, not because they are unlucky, not because they lack talent, and not because the world is unfair, though sometimes it is. Their future stays the same for one simple reason. They do not realize that their destiny is being shaped by decisions they make every single day, often without noticing them. The most dangerous decisions in life are not the big, dramatic ones, not quitting a job, not starting a business, and not making life-changing moves. The most dangerous decisions are the small, invisible ones, the decisions you make when no one is watching, the decisions you repeat daily until they become habits, and the decisions that quietly build your future or destroy it. This script is not about motivation for one day. It is about awareness for a lifetime. Once you see these decisions clearly, you can never unsee them, and once you change them, your future has no choice but to change with you. Most people believe their life is controlled by external factors. If I had more money, if I had better parents, if I lived in a different country, or if I got one lucky opportunity. But study successful people closely, and you'll discover something uncomfortable. Two people can live in the same city, face the same economy, experience the same problems, and end up with completely different lives. Why? Because the difference is not circumstances. The difference is decisions. Not one decision, not one lucky break, but 3 decisions made every single day, whether consciously or unconsciously. These decisions control your mindset, your emotions, your actions, your habits, and eventually your identity. And once identity is formed, the future follows automatically. One of the greatest lies people tell themselves is, one day, I'll change. One day, I'll focus. One day, I'll take my goals seriously. One day, I'll stop procrastinating. One day, I'll become disciplined. But one day never arrives. The future is not created in the future. It is created today through the decisions you make right now. The future is not a destination you reach. It is a direction you choose repeatedly. Whether you realize it or not, every single day you are answering 3 questions. What am I going to focus on? What meaning am I giving to what happens to me? And what am I going to do about it, consistently? These are not philosophical questions. They are practical, psychological, and powerful beyond imagination. Your answers to these questions determine how you feel, what you believe, what actions you take, what habits you form, and ultimately who you become. Most people answer these questions on autopilot. That's why their lives feel repetitive, stuck, and frustrating. The human brain loves efficiency. To save energy, it turns repeated behavior into habits. This is useful for survival, but dangerous for growth. When you live on autopilot, you focus on problems instead of solutions, interpret challenges as threats instead of lessons, and repeat comfortable behaviors instead of meaningful ones. Slowly, without realizing it, you start living a life you did not consciously choose, a life that feels normal, but never fulfilling. Most people try to change their actions first. They force motivation, chase discipline, and copy routines. But change never lasts. Behavior is a result, not a cause. Before actions change, focus must change, meaning must change, and decisions must change. This is why some people fail again and again, even though they try hard. They are trying to build a new future using the same daily decisions that created their current life. That never works. Here's the most important truth you need to understand. You are not powerless. You are not broken, and you are not behind. You are simply unaware of how powerful your daily decisions already are. The good news is you don't need a new personality, perfect discipline, or extreme motivation. You need clarity. Once clarity arrives, change becomes natural. In this series, we will break down the 3 decisions that silently control your future, not in a motivational way, but in a practical, psychological, real-world way. You will learn why successful people think differently before they act differently, how emotions are shaped by focus and meaning, why consistency beats talent every time, and how small daily decisions create unstoppable momentum. This is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming intentional. Once you understand these decisions, Excuses will lose their power. You will no longer be able to say, "I don't know why my life isn't changing," or "I don't know what's holding me back." You will see it clearly, every single day, and that awareness will give you a choice to continue living on autopilot or to take control. In the next part, we will dive deep into the first decision: what you choose to focus on. You'll discover why focus controls emotion, how your attention shapes your reality, why two people can experience the same event and feel completely different, and how to regain control over your mind in a distracted world. This is where real transformation begins, because change starts not with action but with attention. Everything begins with focus. What you choose to pay attention to shapes your thoughts, which shapes your emotions, which shapes your actions, and ultimately shapes your life. Every person has the same 24 hours, the same capacity to think, and the same opportunities to direct their attention. Yet some people feel constantly stressed, frustrated, and stuck, while others feel calm, in control, and unstoppable. The difference is rarely circumstances. It is focus. Focus is the invisible lens through which reality is interpreted. What you focus on grows. What you ignore fades. Most people focus unconsciously. Their attention is hijacked by fear, distraction, and social comparison. News headlines, social media, negative people, and constant interruptions pull them away from what truly matters. They react to the loudest stimulus of the moment rather than choosing intentionally what deserves their mental energy. Over time, this scattered focus becomes a habit, and habits become destiny. The small, unnoticed decisions about where attention goes quietly dictate the trajectory of your life. Consider this. Two employees receive the same criticism from their boss. One focuses on shame, fear, and resentment, allowing it to dominate their thoughts and affect their mood all day. The other focuses on learning, improvement, and opportunity, using the feedback as a stepping stone. The difference is not the event. It is the focus. The same applies to every area of life: relationships, finances, health, and personal growth. How you interpret and dwell on events determines your emotional state and, consequently, your actions. Focus is like a magnifying glass. It can burn or illuminate, destroy or create. When you focus on problems, they expand, consume your energy, and reduce your options. When you focus on solutions, possibilities emerge and momentum begins. The mind cannot distinguish between what is real and what is imagined. If you habitually focus on fear, scarcity, and limitation, your brain becomes an expert at creating reasons for failure. If you focus on opportunities, growth, and abundance, your brain becomes an expert at finding solutions, strategies, and pathways forward. To take control of your focus, you must first become aware of it. Awareness is the foundation of mastery. Begin by noticing where your attention naturally drifts throughout the day. Are you replaying past mistakes? Worrying about things you cannot control? Comparing yourself to others? Once you observe these patterns without judgment, you gain the power to redirect attention consciously. Conscious focus is not about ignoring reality. It is about choosing what deserves your energy. Intentional focus also requires priorities. Everything that demands attention cannot be treated equally. Choosing focus means saying no to distractions, trivial concerns, and the urgent that is not important. Every day you make hundreds of micro decisions about what to give energy to. Each of these choices either compounds progress or compounds stress. Success is rarely a result of talent alone. It is the cumulative effect of focus aligned with intention, repeated daily over months and years. Choosing focus means saying no to distractions, trivial concerns, and the urgent that is not important. Every day you make hundreds of micro decisions about what to give energy to. Each of these choices either compounds progress or compounds stress. Success is rarely a result of talent alone. It is the cumulative effect of focus aligned with intention, repeated daily over months and years. Practical strategies for mastering focus are simple but profound. Start your day by defining your top priorities. Limit exposure to distractions, social media, negative news, and energy-draining people. Schedule focused blocks of time for your most important tasks. Practice mindfulness or journaling to observe where your mind drifts. Recognize that focus is a skill, not a trait. Like any skill, it improves with deliberate practice. The clearer your focus, the sharper your actions, and the faster your momentum grows. Ultimately, the first decision, what you choose to focus on, is the foundation of all others. It controls your mindset, your emotional state, and the quality of your actions. Every thought, every intention, and every feeling begins with focus. When you learn to direct it consciously, you gain the power to shape your day, your habits, and eventually your future. It is the most overlooked yet most critical decision you make each day. Mastering it is not optional for those who want extraordinary results. It is necessary. In the next part, we will explore Decision Thread 2, the meaning you give to what happens to you. You'll discover how your interpretation of events, rather than the events themselves, determines your emotional state, your confidence, and your resilience. Once you understand this, you will never again be at the mercy of circumstances alone. Transformation comes not from changing what happens, but from changing the meaning you assign to it. Life is a series of events, some planned, many unexpected, some joyous, and others painful. Yet the events themselves are not what shape your future. It is the meaning you assign to them. Two people can experience the same circumstance and walk away with completely different outcomes. One sees failure, rejection, or setback. The other sees opportunity, lesson, and growth. This is the invisible power of meaning, the second decision you make every day, often without realizing it, that defines your emotional state, your choices, and your destiny. Meaning is not reality. It is your interpretation of reality. It is how your mind organizes experiences and decides what matters. A single event can trigger despair in one person and determination in another. This is why some people remain stuck for years after a setback, while others use the exact same challenge as a launchpad to success. Understanding this distinction is crucial. You cannot control every event that happens to you, but you can control the meaning you give it. That control changes everything. Most people unconsciously give themselves meanings that disempower them. They interpret mistakes as proof of inadequacy, criticism as a personal attack, and setbacks as confirmation that the world is against them. These interpretations generate negative emotions, fear, shame, anger, anxiety, which then influence every decision they make. The result is a cycle of frustration, self-doubt, and inaction. Over time, the stories people tell themselves about life become the reality they experience. On the other hand, people who master this second decision understand that meaning is flexible. They assign interpretations that empower rather than diminish their potential. A setback is a lesson, not a catastrophe. Criticism is feedback, not condemnation. Failure is information, not a verdict on worth. By consciously choosing empowering meanings, they regulate emotions, sustain motivation, and increase resilience. Meaning in this sense is not wishful thinking. It is practical psychology. It is the art of deciding how reality will affect you before it affects you. Consider the story of two entrepreneurs whose first business failed. One interpreted it as a personal failure and gave up, convinced they were not cut out for success. The other viewed the same experience as a crash course in business, learning lessons about strategy, customers, and resilience. A few years later, the second entrepreneur built a thriving company, while the first remained stuck in regret. The difference was not circumstance, it was meaning. Every day, we are deciding whether experiences will defeat us or teach us, whether obstacles will hold us back or push us forward. The meaning you give to events also influences how you respond to challenges and opportunities. Life is rarely predictable. People who assign negative or disempowering meanings react with fear, defensiveness, or procrastination. Those who assign empowering meanings respond with curiosity, strategy, and action. Meaning determines emotional state, and emotional state determines action. When action aligns with positive, constructive meaning, momentum begins. When meaning is negative, momentum stops, often permanently. Practical mastery of this decision begins with awareness. Notice the stories you tell yourself about events, especially those that trigger strong emotions. Ask yourself, am I interpreting this event in a way that empowers me or disempowers me? Then deliberately reframe the situation. This is not about ignoring reality or pretending life is perfect. It is about choosing a narrative that maximizes your capacity to act effectively. Over time, this becomes a habit, and the habit becomes a force that shapes your life. The second decision, the meaning you give to what happens to you, is a master key. It unlocks resilience, creativity, and confidence. Once you understand this, no external circumstance can dictate your emotional state or future. You gain the power to turn obstacles into opportunities, challenges into lessons, and failures into stepping stones. This decision is why some people remain unshakable in the face of adversity while others crumble under minor setbacks. It is a skill, a mindset, and a daily choice. In the next part, we will explore decision number 3, what you do consistently. Here, we will discover that focus and meaning alone are not enough. True transformation happens only when these mental decisions are translated into consistent, disciplined actions. You will see how small, repeated choices compound over time to create extraordinary results, and why consistency is the bridge between intention and destiny. By now, you understand that what you focus on and the meaning you give to events shape your mindset and emotions. Yet even the clearest focus and the most empowering interpretations of life will remain abstract if they are not translated into action. This is where the third decision comes in. What you choose to do consistently, day after day. It is the bridge between intention and reality, between thought and result, between potential and achievement. Without this third decision, knowledge remains unused, and insight remains theoretical. Consistency is the invisible engine that drives extraordinary lives. Small, deliberate actions, repeated over time, compound into results that appear miraculous to the outside observer. This principle is true whether you are trying to build wealth, health, skills, or meaningful relationships. Rarely does a single action define success. Instead, success emerges from the accumulation of daily decisions and the repeated habits that create momentum, shape identity, and ultimately define destiny. Most people underestimate the power of consistency because they overestimate the impact of one-time effort. They focus on big moments, launching a business, making a career leap, or starting a diet, believing that a single breakthrough will change everything. In reality, transformation is rarely instantaneous. One workout does not create fitness. One day of discipline does not create excellence. One idea does not create wealth. It is the daily, repeated decisions, no matter how small, that build the life you desire. Consistency is the invisible engine that drives extraordinary lives. Small, deliberate actions, repeated over time, compound into results that appear miraculous to the outside observer. This principle is true whether you are trying to build wealth, health, skills, or meaningful relationships. Rarely does a single action define success. Instead, success emerges from the accumulation of daily decisions and the repeated habits that create momentum, shape identity, and ultimately define destiny. Most people underestimate the power of consistency because they overestimate the impact of one-time effort. They focus on big moments, launching a business, making a career leap, or starting a diet, believing that a single breakthrough will change everything. In reality, transformation is rarely instantaneous. One workout does not create fitness. One day of discipline does not create excellence. One idea does not create wealth. It is the daily, repeated decisions, no matter how small, that build the life you desire. Consistency is not about perfection. It is about persistence. Life will inevitably throw distractions, challenges, and moments of doubt in your path. You will not always feel motivated. You will not always be inspired. The secret is not to wait for motivation, but to rely on your decisions to act intentionally every day. It is in showing up when you don't feel like it, in doing the work that others avoid, and in choosing the long-term vision over short-term comfort that real transformation occurs. By now, you have a clear understanding of the 3 decisions that define your future. What you choose to focus on, the meaning you give to what happens, and what you do consistently. Each of these decisions is powerful on its own, but their true potential is realized only when they work together as an integrated system. Think of them as 3 interlocking gears. When one moves, it drives the others, creating unstoppable momentum. Ignoring any one of them weakens the entire mechanism. Integration begins with awareness. Awareness is not passive observation. It is conscious recognition of the choices you are making in real time. Throughout your day, ask yourself, where am I focusing my attention right now? What meaning am I assigning to this event? What actions am I taking consistently toward my goals? Awareness allows you to step out of autopilot and take control. Once you can see your daily decisions clearly, you gain the power to adjust them intentionally. The next step is alignment. Alignment means ensuring that your focus, meaning, and actions all support the same outcome. If you focus on scarcity but interpret setbacks positively, or if you have clarity of focus and empowering meaning but fail to act consistently, progress will be limited. True power comes from synchronizing these three dimensions. Focus fuels the mind, meaning fuels the emotions, and consistent action fuels results. When all three are aligned, your internal state and external actions reinforce each other, creating a cycle of accelerated growth. The final component of this integration is identity. As you consistently practice these decisions, they shape not just your results but who you become. You begin to see yourself as someone who focuses intentionally, interprets life constructively, and acts with disciplined consistency. Your identity becomes aligned with the life you are building, making these decisions easier to make and sustaining progress even in challenging circumstances. Identity is the engine that keeps momentum alive, long after motivation fades. In conclusion, integration is not a complicated theory. It is a practical, repeatable system. Focus your mind, choose empowering meaning, and act consistently. Mastering this system transforms daily life from random reactions into deliberate creation. It empowers you to move from surviving circumstances to shaping them, from reacting to responding, and from drifting through life to deliberately designing the future you want. In the next part, we will explore common obstacles that prevent people from fully implementing these decisions and practical strategies to overcome them. You will learn how to stay consistent, maintain clarity under pressure, and safeguard your focus and meaning against the distractions and challenges of modern life.